Hi everybody, Jeff from Nest Home Loans here. Just want to recap May and what were the main themes that I saw coming out of May. So I saw two themes coming out of May. Firstly, interest rates, and secondly, constructions. So we'll get to constructions shortly, but let's quickly go over the interest rates. What I saw with interest rates is, firstly, we had the official cash rate announced from the Reserve Bank, and they kept it at 0.25%, which is great. No change there from the Reserve Bank, and there's also hints that Adrian Orr mentioned about making no changes until next year. So they've given us some hints that there could be some stability there from the Reserve Bank, which what that means for us really is if they're not putting the official cash rate up, it means could be stable interest rates until they do. So that's great news. The second thing that I've seen in May is a reduction in the 1 year and the 2 year interest rates. So the 1 year rate and the 2 year rates have gone down by 5 to 10 basis points, which is great. But the 3 year, the 4 year and the 5 year interest rates actually went up, which was interesting. That's more of a reflection of where the global markets are, and the cost of borrowing for the banks has gone up for those longer term rates. It could be a hint, an early hint of what we can expect to come over the next 12 months. But for now, I think what we are seeing is that rates are fairly stable with what they have, and even the movement in rates that we've seen in May has been very, very minimal. So no big changes there. So if we go into constructions, so we're getting a lot of inquiry about constructions, which is great. More supply in the market is going to stabilize house prices, so really, really good to see. And we had a massive shake-up in the market with ASB launching a loan product called Back My Build. Back My Build is a specific construction loan product designed to help you guys easily fund a construction, make it more affordable for you guys to get into a brand new home. So what I want to do is go over a timeline of what a construction looks like and what you can expect at each stage of the construction. So we'll just nip over to the whiteboard where I'll map it out for you. Welcome back, guys. So what we're going to go over now is comparing timelines of a construction with the other banks, and then we're going to compare all the other banks to ASB's new Back My Build construction product, and you guys will be able to see pretty clearly why the ASB Back My Build product is really awesome. So let's just go over other banks for now. So you can see I've done a bit of a timeline. Now when you are constructing, you start off by buying a bit of land first, because you can't build on land you don't own, so you buy the land first, and this is what this represents here. So this is the land. You make an offer on the land. When you made the offer, a little bit of time elapses, and then you settle on the land. Now what I mean by settling on the land is that you actually put all your money towards it, your deposit, and the bank puts all their money towards it, and you pay the vendor everything, and you actually own the piece of land. Welcome to owning a bit of dirt on planet Earth. So let's just say that your mortgage with the bank is 200,000. Just an example, 200,000. I'll put it up here. 200,000. Now that's your mortgage amount. Not how much you paid for it, it's your mortgage amount, $200,000, okay? We've settled on the land, that's great. Now the repayments for that 200,000 is going to be roughly 153 per week. This is all, I'm doing everything per week, okay? 153 per week. You gotta remember that most of you guys are going to be renting while you're doing this, and average rent in Hamilton, let's just pick a number, say 500 per week. So I'm going to put in here 500 per week in rent. So you've got to add these together now, because you're going to be paying them both at the same time. You're going to be living in your rental and you've now got a mortgage for the land. So the 500 mortgage plus the 153 per week for the mortgage means that you're going to be paying $653 per week for your mortgage plus your rent. Really important, guys, because you're going to need to budget for this during your construction. Okay, so hopefully you're with me there. Awesome. So that's just the land. I'll put a line down there separating the land. Once you own the land, now you're in a position to actually start doing the construction. Awesome. So now we've got a build timeline. And often with a build, the build is split into several different little sections, and we call them progress payments. So you'll always pay a deposit on the when you start your build, and then you might have one progress payment, then a second one, then a third one, then the final one. Each progress payment gets paid to the builder at different stages of the build. So this first one could be like the foundations are made, like poured the concrete pad. The second one could be the timber structure's up and the roof is on. The third one could be the outside cladding's done, all the gyp board inside's done and it's painted. And the final one could be the house is now code of compliance, ready to move in. So that's sort of how they do the progress payments for a construction. Hope you're with me there. Cool. So back to our timeline. So we now need to pay a deposit on the build. Bearing in mind we have a $200,000 mortgage for the land, and now the deposit could be, I'm going to use easy figures because I'm doing this in my head, so make it easy on myself. Helps me look good, right? So let's just say we're paying $100,000 for our deposit. So that now means that the bank will pay that. That now means your mortgage was $200K. It's now $300,000 for your mortgage. So your payments have all of a sudden shot up to it's 153 plus that. You're looking at roughly $230 per week for your payments now for the $300,000 of mortgage that you have. So it's gone up from 153 to 230. Okay? You're still paying your rent of $500 per week. So now you're paying $730 per week for your mortgage and your rent. So you're with me there? $500 a week in your rent, plus the $230 mortgage payments, you're now paying $730. You can see how it's going up. Okay, so that's the deposit. So now the first payment is due. So the floor's down in the construction, your concrete pad's down, builder wants another 100K. All right, so we pay the 100K, and the debt you have now is 200 plus 100 plus another 100 is 400,000 for your mortgage. So your payments for that is going to be roughly 230 plus another 100K. You're looking at about 307 per week now, just roughly, for your mortgage payments for $400,000 in mortgage. You're still paying your $500 a week in rent, so you're now paying roughly $807 per week for your rent plus your mortgage. So again, see how it's going up. It gets more expensive the further we go. Cool. Builder wants another 100K for two, so the roof's on now. We're looking at roughly 385, and so plus your rent is you're looking at 885. House is nearly finished for number 3, so you're looking at payments, that's another 100K, 467. Your mortgage is now 467, so you're now paying 967 for your rent plus your mortgage, so going up, bing, 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 look at that. And now the final one, another 100K, so your total debt with the bank after your last one is going to be 200,000 for the land, plus 500K for the build, which means you have $700,000 total lending with the bank now, and so your final payment's going to be roughly $538 per week, and you're still paying rent for a little period, so you will be paying $1,038 per week until you move into the house. Okay, shouldn't be too long paying rent, because you're obviously going to move into the new house and stop paying rent, but you need to be budgeting for something like that. So hopefully you understand that part. So now, very exciting, I want to compare how ASB's product compares to basically what all the other banks would offer you otherwise. So let me take this down. Cool. So we're now going to go through the figures very quickly of ASB's Back My Build loan. So it's exactly the same timeline as before. We're going to have a $200,000 loan on the land, okay? And so the repayments on the land are going to be $68 for the payments on the land. If we look back up here, the payments were $153 per week. The payments for ASB is only $68, okay? Add in our rent, you're paying $568, whereas up here you're paying $653. So roughly $110 per week difference. That's massive, okay? Right, we get to our deposit. So 100K, what are we repaying? We're paying roughly $103 per week at this point in time. Back up with the other banks, you were paying $230, but we're only paying $103 with ASB. Awesome. That's $603 including your rent. Okay? So progress payment number one. We're looking at, that's another 100K. We're looking at payments of roughly 137 per week. Compare that to up here, 307 per week. So we're looking at 637 for our rent and our mortgage versus 807. That's $230 per week difference. That is huge. And let's just fill out the rest. Okay, number two. So we're looking at another 172 per week, so that's 672. Compare that to 885. You know, again, $210 difference. Payment number three, we're looking at roughly 206 per week compared to 467, less than half what you're paying at the other banks. So that is 706 per week. And for the last one, we're looking at about 240 per week for your mortgage payments. Back up here, it was 538. So roughly half what you're paying with the other banks. So look at the difference, guys. You're paying $740 per week with ASB versus over $1,000 potentially with the other banks. You're probably asking, what is the difference, Jeff? Like, why am I paying so much more with the other banks? And it comes down to the interest rate. With the other banks, you're paying, and I'll put this in red, you're paying around about 4% interest, roughly, give or take. With ASB, you're paying 1.79% interest. So that is the difference between the repayments, is you're paying less than half the interest rate of the other banks with ASB's new Back My Build construction. Look, and if that's not good enough, if the interest rate isn't good enough, ASB will throw in a $2,000 cashback paid down here if your home comes up to the healthy home standards, which most buildings are these days. So $2,000 cash back, that's essentially to reimburse you for your legal costs, or throw a garage party and invite your mortgage broker, or just buy a new couch, whatever it might be. So hopefully that makes complete sense. It is getting easier and easier to build. There's more builds coming on the market. Contact us on 0800 337 426 and talk to us about potentially doing a build. We're in touch with all of the a lot of the developers around, so we can get put you in touch with agents who know where the deals are. But yeah, any questions about this, feel free to get in touch with us. Thanks, team.